Hey guys, Robbie. I got a special guest here to say something.
Greetings, this is Wonder Woman. You are watching Pros versus Noobs.
Actually, Wendy, that's supposed to be pro teaches noobs. I know you like how to do, you like to do fighting and everything, but not everything's always.
And today, this is Azula from Avatar The Last Airbender. We're going to teach you how pros do things. They do it better than their brother. They're about to celebrate becoming an only child.
Yeah, I hear you say that a lot, Azula.
Yeah, noobs are just twerps and they all need to go to bed. They sure are. I can't stand a noob. You know who's a noob? Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I can't stand that guy. But he is my best friend, so whatever.
Oh, way to go, Mandy. So, yeah. What they said. Welcome to Pro Teaches Noobs. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to another Pro Teacher Duke. Today with me, Pika.
Hey.
And today we're going over Wonder Woman Amazonia. Interesting thing about this, you do know in Grant Morrison's Multiversity, he basically combined this with Gotham by Gaslight.
Uh-huh.
You know, he had to be that they exist in the same world.
In the story 23.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And this is basically a Victorian era Wonder Woman.
Yeah, if Wonder Woman came to man's world a century or so earlier, or half a century, depending on which origin we're going by.
And it is written by her then writer, William n00bs.
Okay.
What do you think of the artwork?
Era appropriate on the way it's supposed to be set in.
Yep, the first time I saw the Wonder Woman, she was laughing. She was true. She was fighting lions, but she was laughing. The audience loved it. The audience be damn. I loved it. I loved it. The king and his courtiers were also enjoying it heartily. Even Crown Prince and Hotspur allowed himself a smile. I wonder if that was when he first fell in love with her. I know I did. Even the noblewomen sitting apart in the ceremonial chains were fascinated by her grace and strength. And why not? We were all intrigued by the impossible. Susanna battles the elders. Although there was a command, although this was a command performance and a royal one, it was not private, nor was it in any wise different from the usual performance that was given here 3 times a day. His Majesty had decided to attend with only a minimum of retinue to show that the aristocratic threats hold no terror for him. And Stephen Trevor's Museum of Oddities had been the talk of London for weeks. Like Barnum's 40-year before it, it attracted rich and poor alike, all striving to see his greatest exhibits. Eve conquers the snake, Lady Samson in the temple. He keeps renaming it all. Whatever his private feelings, today was a public triumph. And Stephen Trevor, for Stephen Trevor, and he was a man who needed, craved triumph, almost as much as he needed control. How could any of us have guessed that danger to the king would come not from the mob, but from within his own bodyguard? And when the assassin struck, it would be too quick for a man's hand to stop. Fortunately, it was not only men who glimpsed the drama. Frozen as I was in my chair, I saw her move. Although I had already been witness to her great strength, her speed was still nearly incredible. Quick as a deer, she had seen the danger and was moving towards us. Although even as I admired the swift animal grace, I knew despair. For who could climb all those stairs to reach the madman in time? A madman whose aim, it now appeared, was to reach not the king, but the prince. Appeal! Blood. The palace is drenched in blood. An eye for an eye. Then I am the Lord's justice. A death for a death. A child for a child. I think at that moment, the woman was surprised as any of us, though she quickly grew to like it. And so here, she is bulletproof.
Or
Unless those are bracelets, it's hard to tell.
Look like the bracelets.
Oh, yep, those are bracelets still. See?
Yeah, long sleeves bracelets.
Over it or under it.
Or yeah.
Oh, come on. I did it again. It went to zero. Zero, but this time it didn't go black.
And
by the way, I have the Wonder Woman Whom God Destroyed playing right now.
Well, I'll have to put it on play on the background while after this, I probably need to still.
Yep. So she quickly grew to like it and to take advantage of the assassin's amazement. This doesn't end. My Polly is dead. Dead, do you hear me? Someone must pay. It was only after the madman was hauled off that Diana seemed to realize in whose presence she was standing. Your Majesty, Your Highness, I meant no disrespect. Disrespect? My dear madam, we both owe you our lives. No one expected you to stand on ceremony while you were saving them. That was John Charles, guys, Prince of Wales, heir apparent to the Kingdom of England, Scotland, and India. Prince Hotspur always knew what to say to the ladies, and generally they knew what to say back. So in this case, I don't remember a word being said. Colonel Stephen Trevor, late of His Majesty's Air Marines, arrived later. And sudden in a stroke, he received the sums for all of his ambition. Mr. Trevor, by her quick action, your lady wife, oh yeah, she's married to Steve here, has saved the life of our son. We are most grateful to you both. Please accept our invitation to dine with us next Thursday. Yes, of course, Your Majesty. We would be honored. But as they walked the short distance to their roaming house, Stephen had time for gloomy reflection. Did you see that, Mr. Trevor? And Mr. Trevor, the king himself kissed my hand, and now we're going to sup with his whole family. You were so right to send that message. You aren't wearing your chain. And walk behind me, Missy. Yeah, this Steve Trevor is a sexist asshole.
I was just about thinking about would she be married to Steve because
they love each other, or because
it's the late 1800s?
Yeah, the Victorian era. I've been too easy with you.
If Steve Trevor is like this, him falling to Themyscira and bringing Diana.
Oh, no, I think it was different.
That couldn't have happened in this film.
Yep. You think I want folks thinking my wife don't know what's proper? Now put on your chain. They actually had chains back then?
No, why?
The rest of the distance was covered in silence. They lived not in Whitechapel, but in an adjoining district, one that was more compatible to their new and rising station. No, she didn't live here. Not anymore. But sometimes she remembered the days when she ran these streets. He tasted them as though they were yesterday. So my guess is she was brought here under different circumstances. It's been a while since I've read through this, to be fair.
Yeah, clearly she was not. If she was here as a child, then she wasn't on Themyscira.
Right. Just one sec. I'm just checking one thing quickly.
Okay. At least it goes through the parallel universe stuff we spoke about in Gods and Monsters, in that things are different instead of things going different.
Exactly. Oh, you want to know what this is going to tie into?
Well,
actually, no. You'll find out later. But there's another reason why Morrison would connect this to Gotham by Gaslight. Besides the setting, I mean.
Okay.
Anyway. But yeah, you never quite forget the tang of hunger. You never forget rooting through the garbage like a little rat, living by the edge of your wits, jump ahead of the runner, with every mistake and every man's hand raised against you. An escape is only a dream. Remembering is painful, especially when what you remember is a fantasy, a lie. Mummy! They actually have kids, scallywags. There's my sweet muffin, Cooer. And Cooer, you're getting so heavy. Emmy! She's a little more in a child herself. and she spoils those girls. They'll grow up uncivilized. You mind me, mister? Right you are, Mrs. Wallace. I'll see to it. You do that, mister, and see to something else, too. It's well past the first, and the rent? Yes, I got it right here. There'll be no shortage of pay days from now on, Mrs. Wallace. Why, on Thursday next, I'm going to be dining at Buckingham Palace with my good friend the King. Right, and I'll be out on Friday at the Ascot races with my friend, the great mogul of Siam. Ha, ha, ha. Like, it was in this time of night that Diana Trevor liked best, when she could be alone with her children. As Mrs. Wallace said, she was little more than a child and loved sharing her day with them. Vicky was named after the martyred queen, of course, and Etta called after Diana's best friend, now lost forever. And he was really the king, Mummy? Yes, love. And he was really the king, really real as life. He was a nice man too, as far as I could see. And you're really going to have supper with him? Yes, I'll tell you all about it, and I'll bring you some bites if you like. Now, what story would you like to hear? Kara, please, Bobby, tell us about Kara and Kawa. Samascura, I mean. All right, then, but you must never tell anyone, for it's a deep fairy secret. Far beyond the lands of dream is an island called Kara. It is a very special, enchanted island filled with wonders. And the most wonderful thing about it is that it's an island filled with women, with no men at all. So either one was the truth or one is a lie. And if it's that, too bad it's all a lie.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, while we wait for that to happen, it's the setting and so far is in. So Wonder Woman didn't come from the Themyscira or just thinks about it as a fairy tale. She was here as a street urchin, and she has ended up getting married to Steve Trevor because
obligation.
Yeah.
The women live there. But they explained about Themyscira there and everything. That's enough, silly. Hey, headed imagining for this night. Time we all are in for bed. It was time for Betty indeed. At that point, talking ceased altogether. Oh boy, basically it implies it's that whole, even though they're married, it's rape.
Yeah, married or rape, yeah.
And then it actually tells you that the two girls were sired that way too. Yeah, Stephen Trevor was a man who needed constant proof that he was important, that he counted. And in his opinion, nothing proved that more than this. The sweet yielding of his wife. I'm not going to keep reading that.
Yeah, I don't.
But it is important to the story, though. Because unfortunately, that's what it was like back then.
Yo, the values of the time. You could see, you could try to explain or understand Steve to be a product of his time.
Yeah. He was not unaware of the side between his wife and himself, but bothered him only a little. After all, he had come such a long way with such a strange beginning. He had been in the Air Marines less than... so he did end up there!
Kuinka helvet? How? Based on how this is all going, how?
We'll get there. Less than 2 years shipping out of Bristol at the HM Drizali when an anarchist bomb ignited the gas cell. You can still remember the sucking, merciless heat, the scream, the pain as he broke through the rubberized glass and fell into nothingness. It was only the minor strength of use that saved him. For had he considered his position, the lone survivor in the midst of the ocean sprawl, surely reason would have bade him sink and have done. But when he would have given up his boots and dragged on rock, he was amazed on an island. He was not alone. This was obvious civilization, a culture that was nearly as old as time, a world lost in modern age, and ripe for the plucking. Most wonderful of all. So I think he put on the charm. What's wonderful of all, this world was run completely by women, and Steve Trevor was a man who knew how to talk to women. Yep, and he told Queen Hippolyta that his was a world where women were valued, where men and women enjoyed a condition of perfect equity. Oh God! And as the words
It's a
flowed
couple
out
of
of him,
centuries too early to say that.
right, he gave thanks to every minute he had spent one summer on a Greek fishing boat. The Greek he knew was not the archaic dialect they spoke, but it was close enough. As the weeks passed, he was treated as an honored guest. There were many things about this culture he realized that when were esteemable, even worthy. If one could ignore the fact that they were created by women, and of all the unnatural things he saw, the worst was the damned independence these Amazons showed. It seemed they needed men for nothing. They were certainly fearless and more than willing to search for the object of his greatest desire, the wireless of his ship. Although Trevor considered them basically a Bronze Age Bronze Age warrior society, they had an amazing ability to learn and repair, especially as Trevor told himself, because they were innocent of any of the masculine virtues of science or reflection. Only one child had been born into the strange land. The Princess Diana was a child of about 3 and as healthy and strong as a new flower. Many were the fanciful myths the queen had woven about her birth. Trevor had been careful not to speak in English before any of the women, lest they learn his language. Then, when he had last made contact with a Navy clipper, it was not merely to be rescued, but to inform the government of his discovery. An amazing new world populated by women out of myth and filled with amazing freaks. Such a land should be immensely valuable to its discoverer. You were certain to tell them nothing of us, the queen asked. Trevor smiled. As I promised, your highness, I mentioned only my predicament. Britain has, in any case, only the most peaceable of intentions. You are perfectly safe. Oh, so they invaded! They invaded Themyscira and caught them by surprise.
Hold on. So did he send them the...
He sent to Britain... No. He sent word to Britain under the guise that, and they don't know what he's saying.
I think I missed some parts of it.
Okay.
Where did they get the flying ships?
This is obviously fictionalized. Or those are Zeppelins. And they did try that during around World War I. They tried that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that whatever deal he sought he'd made for himself had ceased to have any meaning. That there were other plans for this island. That this was war. No one expected that the Amazon would be so strong, so unaffected by the gas, that they would fight back so fiercely. Not that in the end it did them any good. Bronze arrows are not much good, really, against steel-jacketed bullets and grenades. Stephen Trevor tried not to think about the island over much. Although he had done nothing deserving self-reproach, it gave him a little trouble sleeping. So he took her.
Oh.
This Steve Trevor is horrible.
Joo.
It was the best of
I
times.
didn't ask Jared to go this with you because he would have...
He would have loved this. Yeah, but I didn't want to, I already tortured him. I didn't want him to celebrate. Right. Now I, on the other hand, never had any trouble sleeping. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. Not that Dickens bored me, no. It was all that made my life tolerable. Young Hotspur would read to me for hours, as he did that night. He was a very sweet boy, whatever his father, the king, might think. It wasn't the sleeping that bothered me, it was the nightmares. Do you remember the Ripper murders? Not many do these days. There were 4 in total. Polly, Nichols, Ann Chapman, Cassie. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper is connected. That was the other reason why Morrison connected this with Begotten by Gaslight.
Yeah.
But the fire made everyone forget the Rippers and his crimes. And why not? Nearly the entire royal family perished in that not one hideous night. The Queen and all her children, save for Bertie, the Prince of Wales, who had died in a strangle riding accident the month before, perished, as well as uncles and cousins. With an so obviously this is where there's some of the altered history here.
Yeah.
But for me, Edward Duke of Clarence. What?
I think about how much of this is like a flashback doing world building establishment. How much of it would be padding for the main story?
True. I thought him a great hero, and a grateful nation sought him likewise. Who would have guessed he would be king? Yeah, this was for me, Edward Duke of Clarence, and my American cousin Jack Planters. Who saw? I thought of him a great hero, but yeah, who would have guessed he would be king? Paralyzed, speechless, helpless. I was certainly an impossibility as monarch. The royal family, for all intents and intents, had ceased to exist. The country faced, if not civil war, chaos, and a constitutional crisis. Again, Jack was our savior. It turned out he was related in a direct lineage to the old king. So an American took over because he was the only one of direct bloodline.
American King of Britain.
Well, that kind of reminds me of that John Goodman movie, King Ralph.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh.
He also ties to various industrialists, both American and British. Further, several in the House of Lords owed him favors. As an American, he was able to go to the Labour Party and suggest that as king, he would be partial to a republic somewhere down the road. Naturally, this was not the selling point he made to the Lords. It may seem odd that we would consider a foreign national to be our king, but the Jacobean line had been invited in from Scotland, and William and Mary from the Netherlands, and the line of Victoria came from Germany. This was only a little more unorthodox. All of Jack's life seemed golden. He was surrounded, a righteous goodwill. So basically, yeah, we saw about this, and they say how his wife died in childbirth and everything. Oh yeah,
That's
but the poem wasn't Jack's style. Basically, showing how so this is where showing the alternate history where the blimps came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. England and France had been at peace since the days of Napoleon. 80-some years before, the Lightning War was unexpectedly certainly by France. Normandy was peeled away. The victories of Charles V were reversed. Soon, half of France belonged to England. So something caused them, all the part of the royal family to be killed off. Then this Jack Planters would become king and change all of history. All of history would change. The king fell into deep mourning, and if he was seen to act coldly towards women henceforth, well, allowances were made. Sometimes he was seen to coo at the portrait of the late Queen Victoria as though she were his mother. Sometimes he would rant and rave. He would oftentimes be very cynical and biting towards the fair sex. It was put to his sadness and the losses he had suffered. Taking their cues from the king, men turned away from the feminine even more than they had done. So basically, because of his actions, it's what led to people like Steve being the way they are.
Yeah. So it's
if only one word.
Nurture.
Yep.
Which made it so. But even then, I was thinking about the whole nature versus nurture stuff. Like Steve Trevor.
It makes sense though for a lot of men to then follow in the tradition of what the king would do.
So far in England.
Yeah. And women found themselves
Americans themselves. Like if this was eventually retconned and tied it with Gotham by gaslight.
Yeah.
Well, the male models, the model of virtuous men in a
I'm pretty sure it's
in
going
American rules case would be a different case.
I think it's going to more follow what came with Gotham by gaslight as the whole, and just have this Wonder Woman exist in there.
Oh.
But yeah, like it was only a word that was whispered from women to women and never without a shiver. The word was Amazonia. Ah! Come on!
Oh.
Like I say, this is an interesting Elseworld. I will say that.
Yeah. How many pages were in the padding so far? And how many pages?
One, two, three, four.
Okay.
Well, that was for that padding portion. And on the
Okay.
streets, there was greater terror, for women had started to vanish again. It was said the Ripper had returned. No decent woman walked these streets willingly, but it was here she had grown up, and here she knew the shops. La, Mrs. Trevor, you come down here today of all days? Another three Pollys disappeared last night. And we all do what we must, Miss and Mrs. Docks, and trust in the Lord. All habits were hard to break. It was here she met little Etta Candy, as they had done piecework in the basement of a publishing house, assembling books they could not read. They had become friends, and Diana, always preternaturally strong, had defended Etta from the roving gangs of hooligans. She often wondered what had become of Etta after Stephen Trevor had come for her, Diana, and swept her away and onto the stage. By the time she returned from a year's tour, Etta had vanished. But Diana thought of her often. Old habits are hard to break. Etta, Etta! It was so like a dream. With Etta appearing suddenly, just as wished for and menaced by cloaked figures of nightmare. That what happened that what happened next hardly surprised her. She flew, and goes to save her. It wasn't as easy as her dream. She was off balance, terrified and exhilarated all at once. But she could do this. And Dame, stay still! I'll stick you like a sparrow. Grab her, drag her in. I'm trying to pull her back. Boom! They made damp, angry noises when they hit the cobble below. Then all was still. But they hadn't come alone. Bang, bang! And come on, Etta girl, give us a hop. It's time to go. Even in the face of rampant lunacy and danger, Diana never remained untouched. It was Etta, though, as if no time at all had passed. We got to get out of range of the bloke's pistols. Diana, where'd you come from? How'd you do that? And were you on a wire or? Hush now, Ed. And there'll be time enough for that. We got to get ourselves full clear. They're leaving and scared silly of you, Di. Even picked up its friends. And no clues then, and no proof that it ever happened either. They talked then, though Diana needed no words to read the content of Etta's life. She knew that those apartments were used for and what kind of employment was available for a woman in this section of Whitechapel. I met an army man, same as you, Di, but it didn't quite work out. And he took the drink and needed me to find the nick. And then one day he was gone. On. I always wanted to be a nanny or a lady's maid, but that ain't likely to happen now, eh? And on every day, more girls disappear. The coppers don't care. People whisper that Saucy Jack is back. There's no way out for the likes of me. There might be something if Mr. Trevor can be made to see it the right way. What? They're not bloody likely. What? And have a woman like this look after my children? Are you mad, Missy? I've always been good with the wee one, sir. That's right, Mr. Trevor. She's got a right touch with him. And you said with our rise and station, we need a governess. I didn't mean in this. She'll be drunk all the time. She'll steal the silver. That is a good woman, Mr. Trevor. And besides, with a nanny, we'll have more time together. Alone at night? What? Oh, I see. Well, I think we could try it out for a couple of weeks then. Vicky, say hello to Mrs. Candy. She'll be helping out with the girls from now on. And Eddie, this is the Etta you was named after. She got to her way, but Diana couldn't help but reflect that Etta wasn't the only whore in the room. Oh! A week passed, and then an unusual conversation occurred in the old Tower of London, the ancient edifice around which Cousin Jack had built his place. We lost another 2 men, sir, and there hasn't been a single woman taken, not in days. The harvest must continue, gentlemen. We know that, sir. So Jack has made a legion of Jacks! That's kind of terrifying.
Oi.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's gonna be
He's made a cult of Jacks. But all our best men are in hospital. It's like these street nuance and Nancy's got themselves an avenging eagle, and they say she can fly. On Tuesday last, she broke the axe on one of the coaches with her bare hands. The men are scared, sir. Tell me what happened tonight. We was headed north along Bristol and Lane, which is our route. The taverns let out about 10, so that's good hunting time. We had a contract to have 20 women at the air freighter by this week's end, and we meant to honor it. And it was then that we heard the footfalls. I recognize this one. It was Gretchen Kelly, the daughter of Mary Kelly that runs Kelly's Pub. She calls herself a reformer and won't wear her chain. She tries to get these Magdalene jobs, if you can imagine. But she was just like any other sack of meat when it comes down to it. It looked like we was lucky tonight. Suddenly, Jemmy tried to help, and it was kicked by a mad horse. At the moment, I was hurled in the air. When I landed, I saw something I never forget. It was the Wonder Woman flying away as if she was a bird. So she's being a bit more like Batman here.
Yeah, because even by modern standards, Wonder Woman is actually think about how the adaptations of Wonder Woman that they have tried to do out of movies and not the one TV show, and that they tried to have that TV show. The balance of the and status quo they would have for Wonder Woman to act is.
By the way, here's my copy of the book.
Okay.
Signed by Lowe's. But look at the shape of it.
Huh.
It's closer to what we got now with the black labels.
Yeah. That's funny.
Like
I got the black label version of Watchmen on Friday, and that's also kind of done like that.
Nice. But she was like a bird. King Jack brooded on those words. Over the next few days, his harvesters reported no activity. They were too afraid. So King Jack was Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper basically somehow took over and became the King of Britain.
So how the hell did Grant Morrison die with Gotham by gaslight with Jacob Packer?
Again, it was the timeline of it all. And again, I think he was basically, who knows, because he never actually did anything with it. Remember that? He only showed that in the guidebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, Father, the Trevors are here. We have to eat dinner soon. The prince never knew what would set his father off or earn him a sneering rebuke in his father's flat American accent. So we have to eat. Do we? There's nothing I have to do. I only meant you take what you want in this life, my lad. Is this what your fancy schools have taught you? To live like a damn butler? My God, to think my blood flows in those pale veins. So at least he wasn't raised by he was had an upbringing at a good school.
Uh-huh.
Let's see to our guests then. Most people pretend not to see me or treated me as though I were furniture. Not Diana Trevor, though. I think we've been following this guy here.
Huh.
So she kept up both ends of the conversation. With her, I felt whole. Mustn't let the chair get you down, love. Why, I seen a boy with no legs once rolling marbles with his nose. He won, too. Diana? Oh, hello, your majesty. I was just having a chat with the Duke here. A chat? I wasn't aware chatting was among Eddie's talents. Why, he's got plenty of talent, this one. I can feel him squeeze my hand, I can. With a bit of practice, I bet there's a deal he could do. He's in there, and it just takes a bit to find him is all. Indeed, when the child smiles. So in other words, he's stuck in this, comatose state. Indeed, when the child smiled at me in that way, it seemed nothing I couldn't do. Her own confidence pumped me into me like sunshine. I mean, if I could come over now and again, I bet I could get his fingers to working proper. I'm sure no man could refuse to have such a delightful nurse. And Corey, Your Majesty, ancient and the talker now. Everyone talks about you, Mrs. Trevor. or might I say Wonder Woman, especially the woman whose avenging angel you are. Why don't you fly in your act? Fly, Your Majesty? My people can't fly. Suddenly she is very tired. Her legs cannot hold. I have a feeling Steve is one of these.
Oh,
Do you have a feel? Wait, is Steve there? Yes. No. Yeah. Anyway, he beckons. She beckons or
he's
tries.
going through with this. They are really intentionally throwing him under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Or horse carriage when you consider the Victorian Era.
She beckons or tries to beckon to the other guests. At first, they seem blazed, disinterested, but then she sees the sneering hatred just below the surface. It is a hatred of her, of all females. She sees it in the men, in Stephen, in the king. It is more than casual contempt, more than arrogance. It is the lust to see her dead, and she cannot save herself, cannot even move her hand. Help me. Heck, if she had a moment to wonder how the king had known of her nocturnal adventures, it was soon snuffed out by the powerful drug coursing through her. Mrs. Trevor has fainted. She needs a rest, I think. I think your wife needs to return to her home. You know, the place I mean, don't you, Mr. Trevor? Major Trevor? Yes, but isn't that a secret? I mean, and it was Captain Trevor, sir, when I was in the service. It's Major now, and there's nothing secret when one is one of the elite. It is the summit of Stephen Trevor's ambition. For the next 3 days, as the huge black airship traveled far out into the Atlantic, the king showed him the marvels of the coming of the age of man. Do you see this, Trevor? It is this distillate of masculinity. No longer must we men shoot through with the weakness of women. The arid ichates, all trace of the feminine and within us. Imagine, no longer to be weakened and controlled by the womanish part of us. No longer to be weak. I think Steve is now starting to question things.
Yeah. Better late than never, I suppose.
Each day we would visit Diana Trevor, but she lay as one dead. There's something terribly wrong, Uncle Eddie. Father's rant and screams in his cabin. He told me yesterday I was lucky to have grown up without a mother. He sleeps with a surgeon's knife beneath his pillow. Did you know that? He had me raised with boys away from London, taught me that women were dirty and petty and perverse, and yet she is none of those. She is sweet and brave. You saw it too. I think she gave you hope. Father won't tell me where we go, only that it is an island where I can regain my birthright. The queen is dead. We must save the prince. No, they found us. Got him then. And we got ourselves a bonus, looks like. All these women, and that's the only nipper on the island? Like, I know a man who will pay half a quid for the healthy one. Okay, so Steve didn't know that was Diana from the island. He called him there, but he had no idea when he found Diana that was her. Because he didn't find her.
Yeah.
It was one of the other Brits.
Oh.
At least I hope so.
Yeah. Going through this is kind of... Imagine if the modern version of Steve Trevor was not an American and was British too.
Yeah.
That would have been... When the absolute universe starts, that would be like, nah, they're probably not going to go for it.
Okay, so that's how she got there. She grew up in a workhouse, saved from death by her soldier's whim and her memories of slaughter and madness. Memories she convinced herself were dreams. And just like the endings of a dream, she awakened. And she's in Amazonia. Take a shot, son. They are all here to die. Like, wait, what are you saying, Father? I cannot do such a thing. It's madness. Madness, is it? It's time you were bloodied, little man. All the little bit ability have gone through this Maybrick, Lyle, all of them. Blood makes us one. My friends are all hunters. It's the natural way. I used to hunt at night beneath the moon. Now we hunt in daylight. Together. And as the huge gate swung open, Diana heard again the gibberish from her dream as it resolved itself into words, into coherent speech. I'll be fair, dude. I think if I showed this to Jared, I think he would have hated this book overall, what they've done to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So you
I
might
agree.
praise this about Steve being an ass, but he would hate everything else. It comes for us, the death from torment. Aphrodite, protect us. We must be brave. What is bravery against so many? Steve Trevor knew it was time. The strangle potion was surging through him. He was stronger already. He had grown several inches in height. And he was, so never mind. I take it back. He was interested in that potion. Oh, it's their equivalent of venom. And he was not alone. He shivered with the desperate excitement around him. Every soul about him was filled with the need to slay, the taste of victims' blood. The joy was everywhere. There is no hope here, stranger. Now we meet our doom as bravely as we might. There's always hope. We can hope they've underestimated me. Only one way to see. Crank! Watching this, the prince finally learned the secret hidden deep in the core of his country, the secret that transformed men into brutes and women into meat. But he also learned that day that liberty never dies. It only slumbers for a time and then awakens in some new form, ready for battle. And that battle is all that is important. Bardoom! It was a state-of-the-art elephant rifle meant to drop a charging bull or rhino in its track. Scrank! The bracelet held, but the fragile wrist beneath did not. Mr. Trevor! Clang! Some trace of pride yet stirred in the woman. It needed only a fresh flame to fan it. She can fly! It is the princess! She has returned to us! As the hard line of battle surged back and forth across the arena, that primal scene was enough to nauseate all eyes that saw it, and but all but those of him who created it. The natural hatred between male and female. You see, they live only to destroy one another. Here's someone you may recall, the anarchist who attacked us in the circus. You had him, anarchist, hardly. Jenkins was my best man until his mind gave way. He thought he could hide his daughter from me. When he found out the others had brought him and her to me. Oh, it's his head! See? But so yeah, basically, they killed his daughter. He never understood how the game is played. Nearly 16 she was. Gad, it felt so right to hold her liver in my hand, to squeeze her heart before her still living eyes. Did the maundering fool did the maundering fool think I would give that up for anything when I had already done the same to hundreds others, including your mother? To mother, she had served the purpose of her sex, to give me an heir. The rest of her was fodder for my steel. It's a ripper's world, young boss. That thing in the arena will soon be dead. I had sought to save her for a time to examine her cells for the secret to her great power. But then again, why bother? Her litter at home will have the same power. I've ordered them brought here. After all, now there's no one there to protect them. Oh, nope, Edda is good. And once they're brought here, there will be many happy years to experiment upon them, to risk from their glands the secret of bone and she knew. What happened next, I cannot explain. Some have tried to explain it by saving that all the women involved have seen the Wonder Woman, which may have been true. Still, does one sighting compensate for a lifetime of oppression? And it is a question I cannot answer. Chank! They're all wearing the outfit underneath.
Huh.
Can collectively a herd of gazelles, which have been harried all their lives by wild dogs, decide suddenly to turn upon the predators? I cannot say. Still, in the months that the Wonder Woman patrolled the streets of London, strange incidents occurred. And odder yet, during the week that Diana Trevor was captive in Amazonia, sightings of the Wonder Woman continue to occur. Come on.
Taas sitä mennään.
We're nearly done. See, we're nearly done.
Okay.
Mr. Trevor, Stephen, I loved you. Oh, got what he deserved. See?
Christ, Jesus.
Looks like a lot of went right through his crotch. He deserved that. Let's be honest.
From the angle, yeah.
He deserved that. Father,
Yo.
no! Get away from me! My destiny to cleanse the earth of these dirty bitches! Get away! The blood flowed and memories opened in me. Memories I had chosen never to remember. Memories of blood and fire and horror. I had seen him slaughter them all. The whole royal family, helpless and drugged with laudanum. Why, after the initial slashes, had I been spared? Perhaps because I could not speak, did not remember. Perhaps because he wanted an ironic souvenir of that night. A pet, one who could never harm him. And I could hear her gentle voice in my head. Mustn't let the chair get you down, love. I would push the marbles with my nose. And suddenly, dead flesh touched dead metal. And I became a thing of motion, like a bird. Damn strumpet, a bird of prey are you? Want to rip me in your talons? King Jack will show you ripping. Boom! I fully intended to die was Jack then. Predator and prey, murderer and murderer. Ending was blood. Tragedy was tragedy. But Mrs. Diana Trevor had a bias against tragedy, so I lived. I lived long enough to see the scars of Jack's ray begin to fade, to see men and women live and love with amity and mutual respect. And I lived long enough to see my beloved Charlie, who had taken back the name of his mother, that his mother had given him, to find his own beloved, and to unite two great cultures, the British and the Amazon, in one marvelous ceremony, the royal wedding of Charles and Diana. But then that's a different story. Of course! So, I would say it's not the best Elseworld, but it's not a bad one.
Oh, it's
What would you say? It's very political. In fact, I would call it woke.
It's very political, and the misogyny shown by most of the men. That's I was fuming while you were going through that.
Yeah, but I gotta say, this feels like a world that Wonder Woman should fight back on.
Yeah.
But I wish we saw more of her as Wonder Woman. We didn't.
Yeah, this is also kind of like...
It was more about the world.
Yeah. It's pretty much like with the 2009 movie. The world and supporting cast are explored more, and Wonder Woman, she is pretty much in the background.
But this felt like it did more than the movie did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, this was, but the artwork is good, but way too rough. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but then Charles and Diana.
You know, Princess Diana.
Yeah, and King Charles, the one who's currently King Charles in Britain.
Yeah. But I gotta say, for the world, basically a world where Jack the Ripper can, alter the entire world, that is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but again, and I did like how, again, the fact that Diana was able to help, but the fact that Prince Charles, the prince had basically, he was only this way because he wasn't raised by his father. I'm sorry, that's a little off-putting. And again, Steve being this monster.
Yeah, Steve was really thrown under the bus here.
Or under the carriage, as you put it.
Yeah, or...
I mean, I get it. It was meant to be connecting to it, but also the Amazons were weak.
Yeah.
I mean, great.
You can understand like them fighting being even with modern warfare, they have some deterrence against that.
Right. Now,
or depends on on the writer on if they are good against it.
I did like this part though, the fact that the people that she had saved. I like that.
Joo.
That felt true to Wonder Woman.
Niin.
Although I just realized, going with Jack the Ripper, I just realized he's the ultimate misogynist.
Well, that's true. We're going. Yeah, that's pretty much what the opening of my Gotham by Gaslight video's opening. I pretty much talk about how the misogyny of that it was.
But yeah, he's the
Then
ultimate
again, that's also
misogynist.
considering if Jack the Ripper was indeed even a man, because Fate
Oh, yeah,
Apocrypha had Jack the Ripper be a woman.
That's true. That's true. But going with if he was a man, him being the ultimate misogynist and causing the world, at least the UK, to become more misogynistic, which unfortunately tainted Trevor.
Yeah.
Because that's clearly what happened.
Mm.
So, in other words, like, was Steve this way because of his own thing, or was it because of the upbringing?
It's clearly a nurture versus nature in this case.
Exactly. But again, just some of the stuff in here feels a bit rough. Like, was the whole she had kids from rape necessary? Probably, because that's what they did back then.
Yeah, married because there was no saying no.
Exactly. But again, Diana I wish she did more in this.
Yeah, she more of that we saw that was the feed in the beginning, telling telling stories to her children, and
the artwork was best here. Would you agree with that? This was the artwork.
Yeah, this was really what the first thing they drew.
But then everything else was just way too rough. See what I mean here?
Yeah.
But again, this whole, and also I do feel it's a little convoluted that Jack the Ripper, this version of Jack the Ripper that they had to create out of whole cloth had connection to the royal family. You know what I mean? Would you agree with that? Like, doesn't that feel a little convenient?
Somewhat, yeah.
But again, having it be that and again, just felt like so much like of his, like, what he did to make the world better and everything just felt a little too like.
It's a huge give and take. On the other hand, advanced technology. On the other hand, very misogynistic values.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a very we go. Technology is advancing and not very far, and if the values are not seeing that. Okay. I just
realized something. I just realized something. Even though this had more pages than Gotham by Gaslight, it's no different than Gotham by Gaslight as far as it's more world building, less, telling the story.
Yeah. At the very least, Gotham by Gaslight was, for the most part, it was story that started, and like first 2/3 of it were story that went forward, and then at the end there was a huge flashback. It was story started, 2 flashbacks in the middle, and then the rest of the story.
Agreed. 2 flashbacks that were connected at least, but the fact we got them out of order. Now, granted, I think that could have been
one story that could have used a couple of more rewrites before they started working on it.
And I'm sorry again. The inking on this is too strong. I can barely make out their faces. You see, even when I zoom in here, you can barely make them out.
Yeah, it kind of tries to look like some.
Like here, it's fine.
Era. Yeah, with real people that they're supposed to look like it. Then.
Now, I did love this part about Diana, but the fact that Diana just like, so wait, she never knew she could fly in this moment, then she's able to fly normally?
Maybe she countered the opening scene as a momentum and jumping and the angle.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying, but
or
here,
wasn't thinking much about it.
I know, but the fact that she just
or did she have a wire in the first part?
No. I see. No. I'm talking about out here. She's able to fly, and all of a sudden, then she's in this badassness. When it's like, okay, we saw her doing that earlier. But okay, it's like the big question is, we've seen that Diana can be very childlike, and yet then we're seeing her here be as tough as nails, badass. I'm sorry, you can't have both.
Yeah. Cake and eating while having it.
Which is funny enough, because wasn't that from this era? Have their cake and eat it too.
Yo.
But yeah, so overall, what would you rate this one compared to some of the other Elseworlds we've gone over? I mean, I can see why I could see Morrison felt like these two fit together.
Maybe I will go with 6.
A 6?
The art, or 5.
Yeah, the art is both gorgeous and yet muddy.
Yeah, art is good and somewhat rushed. The idea is good. You get the misogyny of the villains.
It had a purpose.
Yeah, it has a purpose. But then there's the whole Wonder Woman's characterization. How little she is actually shown as a character, as the main character of her own story. Steve being thrown under the horse carriage, and
also they can end it with a Charles and Diana joke. Because let's be honest, that's the reason why. That is the reason why.
Yo.
But yeah, at least Steve clearly didn't know that she was from the child from the island. Otherwise, that would have made him even worse. You know what I mean? I will appreciate that at least.
Hey.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that's not Steve. But yeah, so overall, I thought this was...
it's probably not, or...
It's hard to tell.
Can you zoom in?
No, well, it can't be him. Why would he be wearing the military stuff when we
saw
him?
He was so wearing the clothes that he had on his back when the attack happened.
And so they
then again, if the invasion was taken so far and he...
But on the other thing, the Amazons being wimp and weaklings. That bothered me the most. Would you agree with that? The Amazons being taken out so easily?
Yeah.
And being duped that easily.
Well, like, you would imagine that considering how the Amazons' origin is, considering how they were...
This is going with the Amazons that were just... Like, this is what the Amazons didn't have their advanced tech, and they had nothing but sticks and clubs.
Yeah, but there's the whole fact that the origin of the Amazons is that they were like abused women, or some reincarnation of abused women, or people who fled away from misogyny. And so, a man showing up, there would be more showing up how much how much work this version of Steve had to do in order to gain their trust.
But we don't see it. But they make it seem like he was like, oh, it was so simple.
Oh, like rolled how much on the charisma.
Again, this would have pissed Jared off. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Wonder Woman Amazonia. Thank you so much to Pika, and thank you everyone else. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
And
take care.
Yep.